You're going to hear a lot about the G20 meetings this year because, of course, South Africa has its turn to be the president of the bloc throughout 2025. So we're going to host a number of meetings of ministers and delegates throughout the year where we're going to be tackling global issues, global cooperation, economic growth, debt sustainability, climate change, among a number of other broader themes. Now, I know G20 tends to sound very high level global, as if it were detached in a sense from the South African landscape. It's actually not. In terms of these themes that I've mentioned now, try to think local, global cooperation. Think of the tensions, those geopolitical tensions between South Africa and the US and the impact that it has on us in terms of trade. AGOA is one of the buzzwords when it comes to global cooperation and trade and so on. If we continue to fall out with Donald Trump, what are the implications for our relations? The US is our second biggest trading partner after China. So if we can't find common ground between the two countries in terms of how to go forward, then there could be trouble. South Africa's growth, much like the rest of the world, has battled to recover post-COVID-19. We aren't reaching the levels that we want to reach since 2008, in fact, but that's a story for another day. But if we're not getting the economic growth that we want, we're not creating the jobs that we want, government is unable to collect the revenue that they want to collect, and of course we're not spending money on the projects that we want to spend on social projects that remain pertinent. So economic growth also very important. Debt sustainability. Africa is considered a high risk premium continent, and so it costs us a lot more for us to pay back our debt to international institutions or global institutions, the World Bank, IMF and so on. And that's a really big issue. Because of that risk premium, we're paying a lot more than the other countries who probably have a lot more debt than Africa has. We're actually not even the worst of the countries. South Africa specifically has a 75% debt to GDP. It will peak at 76% next year. Not the worst in the world, really high, absolutely, but not the worst in the world. So how do we get the global institutions not to charge us that much more than the other global countries in terms of debt servicing costs? And then there's the question about climate change. Think about the persistent flooding in KZN, the damage to infrastructure, roads, bridges, the loss of lives, and of course the loss of livelihoods as a result. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has now called for global leaders to think about disaster management and ramping up the means to responding to some of these disasters, especially with climate change